I regret getting these. They're so disgusting.
How about the other side?
Moving the breast chickens now. Did you see that? As I'm talking, one flies over. Hey gang, big move today, big move. Moving back. So it's a bit of a roll of the dice today. Moving the breast chickens now. Did you see that? As I'm talking, one flies over. He wants back in. I think I'm gonna need to clip their wings. As I was saying, it's a roll of the dice because I need to bring these guys back because we're getting more turkey poults this coming weekend. And the turkey poults are gonna live in the A-frame, so they can't stay there anymore. So I needed to bring them back, and I thought they were big enough to roam around, and I think they might be because he's not slipping through the fence. But they're flighty, so they can still fly over. I think I'm comfortable with them living here, but what I'm gonna need to do is clip their wings. Let me see if I can catch him and bring him back in. Well, he got through one layer. Presumably we'll be able to get through the next layer. Let's see. It's hard. Now he's stuck. All right, fella. I got you. All right, not ideal, but this is why I set this chicken shelter up here in the run, just in case they're still too small or flighty for the fence, which in this case, they appear to be both. I need to clip their wings, number one, and number two, I need to wait for them to get a little bigger. Until then, they're gonna have to live in here. I put some straw down, I've got their food and water ready to go, and I'm just gonna have to move them in here for now. I just don't have a choice. Maybe another 2 weeks or so, they'll be big enough to roam around in here, but as of right now, I just don't want these breast chickens, these breast meat chickens, flying away or getting lost on me. So I'm gonna put them in here. The fun part is chasing them down. I remember reading somewhere recently that the ability to catch a chicken unaided, so without the use of something like a net, just with your hands and your body, could be considered some kind of sport. Or it represents a baseline physical ability that like maybe you can use to test people to get into the military or something. If you can catch a chicken with just your bare hands, you have some amount of physical prowess, because the way that I think about it, and I've been doing this now for years, but the way that I always think about catching chickens now, except for roosters, roosters are a different thing that typically require a net, but just catching a regular hen, you gotta think like a cat. You gotta think like a predator. You have to look at all the routes of escape a chicken may have, and you have to be willing to pounce really quick in order to catch them. So, I was able to catch all 8, thankfully, and I'm gonna put them in here for now, and then we can talk about what we're gonna do next. Okay, now in an ideal world, I'd keep these chickens out. They clearly love to be on the grass. They clearly love to scratch around, but they're just not quite ready for it. I think they need another week, maybe 2 weeks. Of course, I've been saying that for a long time, but they're still just small enough to where they can slip through the fence. One option I have is to keep the fence on, but I've talked about this in the past. I don't want to keep the fence on during the day. Number one, because Henry's running around and could touch it. Number two, it's killed our turkeys in the past. They've got stuck in the fence and have been unable to escape, and they've died. They were electrocuted to death. So I'd really like to avoid keeping the fence on during the day. It really only comes on at night. So I need to decide what I'm going to do with them. And I think, like I had mentioned earlier, give them a week or two till they're a little bit bigger. And then once I do let them out, I'm going to clip their wings. But they have to move. We need to get that A-frame ready for the turkey poults from Two Turtles Homestead that we're going to be picking up this weekend. In the meantime, they're nice and cool. They got some straw to sort through and browse. They got plenty of food and water. This is where they're going to have to be at least for another week or two. Once they are ready to come out, I will be letting them stay in here in their coop that I've prepared for them. What I'll probably do, the way I'll probably work it, is once I deem them big enough, at night, I'll probably take them from the chicken tractor, move them in here at night when they're tired and they're roosting up anyways. I let them spend the night in there and then open the doors in the morning, and hopefully by that point, we'll be in a good place. I'll probably use that opportunity when I move them to clip their wings as well. In the meantime, I gotta lay down some straw for the new arrivals. Get it spread out, but that's something I'll probably put this in here and let the chickens do it for me. I'll keep the door open and the chickens should come in here shortly and start spreading all of this around for me. Let's see if they do. All right, ladies, have at it, as predicted. There they go. When I went to visit Joel Salatin with the Kramer Life a couple of years back, and he was kind of walking us around talking about different things, one of the things that stuck out in my head was the concept of deep bedding, which is just continually piling up new sources of carbon, straw, hay, compost or whatever, just continually piling it up in an animal area, an animal paddock. He was using it with pigs. I think he was using it with some chickens too. But I use it here in the A-frame. After chickens have been in here for a week or so, it gets pretty nasty. So I throw down more straw to cover it up. Eventually you get to the point where you can shovel that stuff out, and it's been decomposed and it's broken down so much that it makes awesome, lovely compost. There's two things going on. I'm putting clean bedding down for the incoming turkey arrivals. And number two, I'm also helping to create some pretty lovely compost on the bottom layers once I do eventually get around to scooping it out, but not for a while. Deep bedding, look it up. Excuse me, friends. I'm gonna snatch that from you. One thing, I could go back in time to when I started doing the whole homestead thing and got chickens. I bought these giant waterers, founts as they're often called in farm goods and co-op stores. I bought these thinking that their big size would be good for handling a lot of birds, and that's generally been true. The drawback with these things, though, is how insanely dirty they get. Not just from birds like perching on top of them and pooping into the sides, but from the algae that builds up just from being out in the sun. Now, I'm about to show you approximately 1 week's worth of algae buildup on these things. I'm not exaggerating. This is a week's worth of algae. I clean these things at least once a week. Lately, I've been having to clean them multiple times a week, 2 or 3 times a week, and it's a big pain because the algae gets caked on there and it's hard to just wipe away. So check this out, guys. Look at that. That's 1 week's worth of algae. Now there's different ways to counter this. You could paint it so that it's opaque, more opaque than it already is. You could dump the water multiple times a day and always have fresh water in there so it doesn't give the algae a chance to build up. But that's just not practical. Sometimes I can only come out to visit the birds once or twice a day. So I remembered I had these metal founts. I hadn't busted them out for ever. I've never busted them out before. So I'm gonna use these for now. The thing with the metal waterers, obviously, is you start to have to worry about rust, and that's another thing to worry about. I don't think the algae buildup will be an issue on the metal ones. I don't believe it will. However, like I said, you will have to think about rust. So one thing that a lot of people do is have big, like 5-gallon buckets with like little nipples that you can drill into the side. A lot of people do that, and they use the opaque plastic buckets. Those things that are blue or black, that rubber won't develop algae inside of it. So that may be the next step I need to take. But in the meantime, I'm going to use this. I do have this clean one laying around that I'll probably use. Not only for the birds on the south end of the lean-to, but the meat chickens as well. This thing is just gross. The birds like to sit on top of these and poop down the sides. And so I have to clean it out multiple times a day because they poop in their water, and obviously I don't want my birds drinking poopy water. So I have to clean this thing constantly. I'm gonna refresh the water situation for now until I come up with a better solution. Again, I think a 5-gallon bucket with those nipples on it. I'm gonna clean these out like I always do, but keep them as backup. Keep them in the bullpen for when those other ones break or something else happens. But I think I'm going to research the best way to water my chickens. It's definitely not these things. I regret getting these. They're so disgusting. That's my tip to 2020 Sean, who just started on this journey, is stay away from these things. Go metal at least, or look into those nipple things, but stay away from these plastic ones. They'll get gross, they'll get disgusting. They're not worth it. How's the garden looking, bud? I'm pretty happy with how the garden is going so far this year. Obviously we scaled back a little bit. We haven't done squash yet, which we're about to actually. Probably in the next week or two, we will be planting squash. Nana's already started some squash seeds. Once they're a little bit bigger, we're gonna put them in the boxes. But until then, we've been getting a pretty nice daily harvest. Turkey. Yeah, that's the turkey. That's Lenny. Lenny's looking at you right now. A nice daily harvest of beans and tomatoes and peppers. The peppers were the first to start maturing early, and so we've been getting a very nice harvest of peppers. But as I said in a previous video, we love the beans that we're getting. We haven't done beans before, but from here on out, beans are gonna be a major part of our gardening routine. So let's walk through and see some of the things that we pick on a regular harvest day here in the garden. Right, Henry? Come on.
Can you feed Daddy the pepper, please? How about the other side? Oh, that's yummy.
Kind of a slow, hot day here on the homestead, but things are about to get quite a bit more exciting with the arrival of the turkey poults, which in the next video, you'll get to see their arrival. We're thinking anywhere from 4 to 6 new turkey poults that we'll be using for meat and maybe a little bit of breeding. We'll see, but I'll be getting those from Two Turtles Homestead. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for hanging out with us. And until we see you again next time, remember, as always, slowly, slowly. Can you say bye-bye?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.